Okay, let me move this a little bit. We got the dojo back up. It's been a while since I've done videos. This one is going to be more on fighting stances. I know I talk about this, but movement's important, your stance is important, your footwork is important. You can't just throw a technique, and I don't think I've touched on it enough. Give me one more second. There we go. So, when it comes to your fighting stance, I want you to understand that there's different stances in karate, and there's a different stance in what you would actually use if you were fighting. You have Zenkutsudachi, which would be your front stance. You have Kokutsudachi, which would be your back stance. Most of your weight on your back leg. But what they don't teach you is that these are transitional stances. You're going from one thing to another. You're moving from one thing to another. When you go to Kokutsudachi, from a fighting stance, you're pulling down. You're pulling back. You've got a hold of somebody, you're pulling them in this direction. Zenkutsudachi, you're forward facing, you're throwing your force forward. So like if I'm punching, I'm going to get into Zenkutsudachi quickly and then back out of it. It's important to remember these things because when you're trying to use Zenkutsudachi as a fighting stance, it won't work. It is directed to put all your force forward. A cat stance, or Nakachidachi, cat leg stance, is you pull someone back, deliver the kick, step down, back into your fighting stance. So what I want you to remember about your fighting stance, there are key things that need to be there for your fighting stance to be effective. First thing, you want to keep your feet shoulder width apart and bladed off, as I recently found. Most military people call this bladed off, which means sideways facing. Makes sense because like the hand, blade of the foot, that type of thing. So you want to be bladed off. Your hands should be here, shoulders, or not shoulders, but elbows close to the body, not at the body, not here, but not out here. So here, you want your hands to be relaxed, not in a fist, but not open. So here. The reason is, when you go to throw a technique, you may be throwing an overhand technique. If your hands are closed, you have to open your hand to throw it. If your hands are open and you're going to throw a fist, you have to close your hand forward. Here, your hands are in a neutral position. So if you throw a fist, it goes in, retracts, there it is. So, 1, shoulder width apart. 2, on the balls of your feet. Now, I don't mean like standing tippy toe. I mean, your weight is on the balls of your feet, your heels are slightly touching the ground. This is going to contribute to movement. This is going to be how you move. Forward, backwards, sideways, at an angle. This is how you're going to get there, is on the balls of your feet. For instance, if I'm going to move forward, I'm going to basically pick my front foot up, push off of my back leg, and I'm going to set my front foot down and let my back foot slide up. Move back, same thing. I'm going to push my front foot and let my back foot reach to where it's going, set it down, and then bring my front foot, my lead foot, back into place. I'm going to stay in my fighting stance. So, hands here, on the balls of your feet, you want your legs slightly bent. help the matter. Keep your spine straight. You want to lift your pelvic bone a little bit, and then bring your chin in just slightly. You want to cover your throat, cover your neck. And that is how it's going to be your fighting stance. Now, when I say this is going to be your fighting stance, you can face both feet forward, you can face off to the side, whatever you do, whatever's comfortable for you, but stand on the balls of your feet. Make sure your knees are bent, make sure your pelvic bone is lifted, your shoulders are relaxed, your hands are up, your chin is down. This is going to help you develop a good fighting stance and is going to contribute to your movement. Now, movement is important, like I said, because your footwork in any fighting situation is going to actually determine how well you fight. If you don't have any footwork when you fight, you're most likely going to get beaten down. I hate to say it, it's not good to not have footwork. Footwork means you're going to place your foot someplace, evade, step to the side. If you're going to switch, if you're going to move at a 45-degree angle and change sides, whatever you do, you want to make sure that you're facing your opponent. Number one, that's if you're fighting one-on-one, fighting multiple opponents, always make sure you have somebody between you and another one of those people. If I have a guy here, I'm going to grab a hold of him, I'm going to use him as a body shield. They're going to be punching him, not me, and that's what I want. So it's the same thing though. When you move,
yes, very easy to memorize. I think I had it memorized by the time I was 6.
My wife's on a phone call, sorry. So if you step to the side, step to the 45-degree, or you're going to step to the side, this guy attacks, you're going to grab a hold of him in front of you, put a choke hold his arms, do something, keep control of him, because if he can hit you, it's ineffective. But if he's worried more about those other guys hitting him instead of you, he's going to be keeping his hands in front of him and not hitting you. Multiple opponents is something that is very rarely touched on, and we like to touch on it a lot. We are getting into a lot more close quarters combat. So a lot of our elbow strikes here, upward, step in, and you're gonna throw the elbow into the solar plexus. A lot of kicks that are going to be developed go for the knee, or stomp on that foot, stomp on the instep. They're behind you, stomp on the instep with the heel, drive it into the ground, break that foot. If someone has a hold of you, break the foot. Break the hold, strike them in the face. There's a lot of things that you can do from that situation. There's a lot of things I can't talk about right now because, well, I have a new instructor. I'm going to be going for a certification course in teaching Kajukimbo. If you don't know what that is a mixed martial arts. It's a lot of people in the military have used it. It's taught to civilians, but it's not very popular because a lot of people think that you don't compete in sports with it. Well, it's not meant to compete in sports, people. It's meant for street fighting. It's meant to seriously hurt people who are trying to seriously injure you. So there's not a lot of fancy kicks, there's not a lot of fancy moves, but there's a lot of efficiency of movement and a lot of direct attacks that are done in it. So there's things that I can teach you about because I already do. I do already teach these things, so that's not part of it. But there are things I'm already teaching that are part of it, but that's because they were already part of what I was doing. So I'm not teaching you anything that I'm going to learn from, I've learned from my new instructor. And that should be starting sometime this year. So once that starts, I probably will do very private videos only for the class, and nobody can, it won't be a very public thing. I have my reasons, and part of it is I want to preserve the integrity of the style and not have people talking about how they learned it from me off of video, and that's not how it works. You want to learn self-defense, I can teach you self-defense all day long, but you want to learn Kaju Kempo, I'm not going to be teaching you something like that off of video. I'm not going to be teaching Kempo off of video. I'm going to teach you how to fight. I'm going to teach you self-defense things. And we may talk about a few things that are related to Kempo. But this one was directed specifically at doing movement, keeping your feet shoulder width apart. You can face your feet forward, get into a comfortable stance, but stand on the balls of your feet. Bend your knees, raise your pelvic bone, relax your shoulders, keep your hands up, keep your chin down, and from here, a movement is just pick your foot up and set it down where you want to go and let the other foot push off and push you in the direction you want to go, or pick your foot up, go backwards, go to the sides, go angles. I want you to take this, I want you to play with it, I want you to have some fun. I'll be doing more videos that may deal with more what if situations of, okay, so you're dealing with a guy throwing multiple punches. I may hold off on that one because I'm going to be learning a lot more about how to deal with that. If I taught you what I know, it probably can get you hurt. It has not really ever got me hurt. Very few times have I ever had to deal with a situation like that. We will deal with people who are throwing wild punches, people throwing straight punches, people throwing, coming at you with a pipe, a blunt object, something, a knife, and we'll talk about all those things in future videos. But for now, I want you to get used to being in a fighting stance and using that as your launching point for doing any technique. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and hope you had a very good New Year. So be safe out there. As my friend Jim Wagner says, be a hard target, and watch your back.